Okay, today I want to show a couple model kits. I had bought these in the 80s. This is a Greek warship, and they have these in different scales, but this is actually from Ertl, and they got the molds from this IME company. These are actually pretty old molds. I think they were made in the 60s. Maybe even the late 50s, but this is a 1/45th scale model of a Greek warship. It's a galley. This was supposed to be around, give or take, the time of Christ, or just before, just after. And the most famous warships ended up being the triremes. And I used to think that triremes mean that it had 3 banks of oars. If you can see, this ship only has 1 bank of oars. So this is actually a pretty small ship for the time. But I come to find out that the trireme could have 2 banks of oars, and 1 bank of oars had 2 guys rowing it, and the other bank had 1, and they actually had, I think they're called quinremes and quadriremes, and they had some that were so big they had like up to 7 or 8 like 4 guys on each oar, 2 guys or 3 guys on each oar. That's where they got the names. You could have, technically in a sense, you could have a big ship like this with one row of oars, and if the oars had 3 men on each oar, it would be considered a trireme. This particular ship is just basically a galley, and it had 1 bank of oars, and it had 1 guy on each oar, and so it had 26 oars with 26 rowers. The Greeks, for the most part, and this ship, give or take, it says, the box says that it's 13¼ inch long by 9½ in width by 7½ tall. Now what they're talking about is that from tip to tip, this ship would be, this model's 13¼ inches long. It's 9½ because of the oar width, if looking at it from above, and 7½ would be from the bottom to the top of the sail. And it's a pretty decently little molded little model. I think, I'm not sure, but I think that ram, I'm not sure if that's actually upswept on purpose like that. I think it would be for the water. But I wanted you to take note of the bottom of this model. Most of this is still in plastic. I actually got this off eBay. I don't remember how much I paid for this one. I think I paid $45 for this one, but you know, you can still find these, but they're not on like eBay all the time. And most all of it's in plastic. Also take note of the main sail and the mizzen sail. And they have a nice little instructions, and then they have the little thing where it talks about it. This Ertl model is an example of early Greek galley with a single bank of oars on each side and the waterline battering ram on the bow, powered by 26 oars with 2 sails. Ships of this type helped Greece defeat King Xerxes of Prussia using 310 ships against 1,207. Based on earlier Phoenician designs, these ships were highly sophisticated in construction with intricate detail and decoration, faithfully reproducing this model. So yeah, they don't really say the year, but they're talking about King Xerxes, and you know, which is kind of funny because all of the movies, they show more triremes than anything. So I don't know. I've seen things online where they were saying that this is kind of made up, and that the trireme and the bigger ships were more, you know, that this was actually atypical. They didn't usually have the ships this small. They usually made them about twice this big, put more rowers in them. But what I was starting to say is the Greeks the Greeks actually hired free men and trained them. They were trained oarsmen, and they were trained to work together. They were trained, like that was their job. I mean, these guys were probably all like Captain America with the upper chest and the arms and stuff. And, you know, but this cool little model. All right, let's put this one up to the side for a moment. Okay, so this is the other one, and I got this one off of eBay also. Both these were wrapped in plastic, which I love. They were in the actual original plastic. They hadn't been opened. So this is the Roman warship in the same exact scale from the same company. And again, I think back in the late 50s, early 60s, somewhere in the 60s, they made the molds for both of these kits. And this also is 1/45 scale, which I like because one, it's a big scale, and two, they're the same scale. So if you wanted to model these and put them up like as book stands or something, or you know, they would go really good on a viewing area side by side. And again, the dimensions are exactly the same on the box of the model that they're saying the model. And again, so what I was telling you about, okay, I opened the sails on this one. And I got the sails. Okay, so the sail, what I was getting at, these sails are the exact same part of the mold. Most of this ship is the same as the Greek warship, other than the molding of the hull. It's just ever so slightly different. This is slightly different than the Greek one. But I even think the bottom is exactly the same. The bottom's the same. The oars are the same, or the men set are the same. It's pretty much, this is pretty much the same model, other than they made the instructions set different, of course. And the hull, they have the little wolf's head on the hull, and they curled up the tails. They put a little they put a little siege tower in here. So if you put these side by side though, and that ram goes on separate, but the bottom's made to go. The bottom's made to go in the same place. It's kind of interesting. And I've also seen this model sold and or made as they got two sets of oars, and they literally put, instead of 13 on the side, they put 26 on the side. They doubled the oars and more or less made it into a bi-ream. But yeah, like I said, you can tell these would be really cool to have more or less side by side. And on the Greek ship, it doesn't show it. There's parts on the Greek ship where they actually, I can show it on the box. So on the Greek warship, they actually modeled out like a forecastle box, and the same on the tail. They modeled out a couple box areas that blend into the deck, that give it more deck area. And where the Roman ship, just basically runs its bow rails and that to the side. And then they also, which they did do this on the Roman warship, they would either have extra shields, or the soldiers would have their shields hung on the side like this. And then when they went into battle, they'd pull the shields off the sides of the ship, and they could have their shields. Now, one of the things about this ship, I'll put that part back in a minute here. One of the things about these ships as the models that I didn't like too much. See, this one comes with a little tower, which is kind of cool. And the Romans did actually make little towers like this. And they have a tin on the back. That was actually done on almost all the navies. They had a tent for the commander and stuff like that. And then sometimes the Roman warships, what they did with these is they built these. They actually had them in front and back, depending on the size of the ship. Some of them had 3 or 4 of these on there if it was a real big trireme. But they don't have any ballistas on here or catapult, which actually this ship might be too small for a catapult. The catapult couldn't be that big. But okay, so here's this one. Roman warships of this type were greatly influenced by Greek designs, which they closely resembles, although many Roman warships were double bank design with one row of oarsmen above the other. The bulk of the Roman navy was made up of the single row of oars per side style of warship. This ship carried 100 men, 26 oarsmen, and 74 warriors. The Romans' last great naval battle, Octavian defeated the Egyptian fleet of Antony and Cleopatra in 31 BC. The model represents the typical warship of the Roman, with its ornate decoration, waterline, battering ram, and observation tower on the deck, is used in this battle. Okay, so again, they're saying this one's 31 BC, 35 BC, 31 BC is what they're saying, which is actually quite a bit later than Leonidas and Xerxes and that. And then I have heard there has been some historians on YouTube. They have told me that supposedly that this is not really accurate, that these ships aren't supposedly very accurate at all. Supposedly they're just supposedly made up ships, or based on conjecture. It's kind of like somebody designed them off of the bireme or the trireme. And I have also seen which I can actually get online. I've actually seen ships like this, kind of like with this design with this prow, and some of them have the wolf, some of them don't, but I've seen ships like this represented as Greek warships, and they're bigger. I've seen these represented as Roman warships. I've seen them I've seen that where they made some triremes in a 1/72 scale, which is about the same length as this, but if you scaled it up to match the length of this ship, it would be almost twice as long, carry more men, had double but it still had this like the same trireme design and stuff like that. So I've there's some books I want to read on it, and definitely get on it. So anyways, I just wanted to show this unboxing, and I plan to, what I want to do with these is I want to measure these out, and I want to 3D print these, and I want to 3D print them into about 4-foot models, 3 to 4 feet, somewhere in there. I'm thinking 4, give or take about 4 feet on this. If I take this 145 scale, I can either make it a 1/12 or a 1/18 scale. And they have some neat model airplanes now that are in both scales, 1/12 and or 1/18. But as small as these ships were, in a sense, I'm guessing, I'm going to find out because I'll do the math, but I'm guessing that this in about 1/12 scale would be about my 4 feet. And 1/18, 3.5, something like that. So I'm going to decide on what scale I want to do, and then I might actually put these together sometime. The only thing that I don't like about this is I'm not really good with rigging, especially when it gets small like this, because you get on something that's it's only a foot long, and you start tying these little knots and gluing them and stuff. I mean, they got directions that show you how and stuff, but you got to have magnifying glass and tweezers and a lot of patience. And if I really want to, I could sit down and do this, but I just think this would look so great Whoops, I thought that was a fold over. That's stapled. Okay. So here they show you how you tie your dead eyes, and they give you instructions. You can tie them and glue them and knot them and stuff like that. I was doing a big model of the Constitution one time, and I was like, wow, that was gonna take a month of Sundays. They're definitely endeavor of love. So, you know, I might just keep these. Get in there. I might just keep these in the box as collectibles. I got quite a few models like that. So anyways, that's the unboxing of the Roman. And the Greek warship in 1/45 scale. And please give me a like and subscribe if you like that.